Welcome again to the Intentionalist podcast with your host, Coach Alice. This is episode 7, the incivility, the cost of incivility in our life. And I'm honored to talk about this topic as an image and etiquette consultant with my guest, because this is a topic that is so dear to our heart. Using etiquette or lack of it, what we lose or how we are quoted, the impact of our first impression in negotiation, it's part of what makes us a successful negotiator, a successful dealer, a successful business conversationalist. What lack of civility cost Africa mostly? What lack of civility, lack of manners, lack of etiquette costs us as women when we are doing global competitiveness, either career-wise or even relationship-wise? Not necessarily everything should evolve around career. Today's conversation, we are going to talk mostly about our global competitiveness as women who aspire to be more, women who aspire to be better, women who are on this journey of intentionality. How are we building our image, our presence, our impact, our gravitas as global leaders? And today's guest is an expert in image and consultancy. She has done amazing work. She's well known for fostering context around image, around etiquette, around personal growth, around good presence, good presentation skills. She's none than the other Mrs. Nthenya. Welcome to the Intentionalist podcast.
Thank you, Coach Alice. I'm so excited to be here and to talk about a topic, like you said, that is very dear to my heart.
Yes.
And I'm so glad that you're doing this for the sake of women out there who keep asking us the questions.
Yes.
That they can finally get the answers through this podcast.
Yes. She's an image and etiquette expert. She has been doing this for the longest time that I have known her.
Yes.
I think you're the first image and etiquette consultant I have known when I landed to Kenya.
Well, in terms
how long have you been in the industry?
So first of all, I started out in PR and events.
Yes.
And it was in doing events that I was like, people didn't know how to dress, didn't know how to use a fork and knife, didn't know how to express themselves.
Yes.
That I decided then to do the image consulting.
Yes.
So I've done this for the last 15 years.
15
as a
years.
certified image consultant.
Yes. 15 years of expertise. This is a huge mileage. I call you, bring your tea, bring your water. Let's sit and talk about civility and its lack and how we can polish ourselves better. Are you ready?
I guess they should be.
Yeah. So I would like to know, what has been your perspective and receptance out here when people speak about image consultancy,
Right.
Etiquette? What has been the views around your career? People even wanting to know, is there such a thing?
Right.
Yeah.
And so when I started 15 years ago, nobody knew what it was.
Yes.
Actually, like I said, it was based out of a need that I saw when we were doing the event.
Yes.
So you'd call for people to have dress up in a black tie.
Yes.
That was the theme. It would be black tie.
Yes.
And people would come in their African shirts or their short little ball gowns,
jeans,
dresses, or whatever it is.
Yeah.
And so I saw the need and decided that I was going to take up a course in image consulting.
Yes.
When I came back, no one knew what that was.
Yes.
And so you'd be like, you need an image consultant. And it took years of going on TV, being in the newspapers, of just doing pure marketing and education, telling people what it was about.
Like awareness.
Yeah. And then at some point, it probably was 8 years later, something broke.
Yeah.
Everyone and their auntie wanted an image consultant.
Yes.
It like became the buzzword, and now the phones were ringing off the hook.
Yeah.
And it was almost like the world needed that.
Yes.
And then I think fast forward to 2020, the world went into we call it the Great Reset.
Yes.
Then we started working from home.
Yes.
And then we forgot that there was something called image. We forgot there was something called etiquette.
Yes.
Because now we were in our jeans, in our pajamas,
Crocs.
in our Like we didn't even have
Was
to
it
turn on
not
our
that time
camera.
where the Crocs were invented? Because I started encountering Crocs most of the time during COVID time.
And being a Crocs lover, I will say that they were there before, but they became a thing.
Yeah.
So during COVID, people
Yeah.
then almost relaxed and put their foot off the brakes.
Yes.
And now we are trying to say it still matters. How you show up still matters, and your soft skills are even sometimes more important than the hard skills that we learn at school.
Yeah, true.
So it is now, doing this is the refresher that people need.
Yes,
that
true.
Etiquette is so important.
Yeah.
And the basic rule about etiquette is the golden rule. One, that we treat others like we'd like to be treated.
Yes.
And then number two is that there are rules that govern how the world globally operates.
Yes.
And those rules were not set up by us.
Yes.
Part of them are scientific. And so when we talk about things like the psychology of color, those are scientific things.
Yes.
Someone has done the research, the homework, and has come up with these solutions that help us unite the world in a common gathering place, which is what we call as international etiquette.
Yes.
And civility is the bigger word.
Yes.
And civility is now taking it a step further.
Yes.
That how I act, how I interact, plays a very key role in my going up the ladder of success, so to speak.
Yes.
Yeah.
I really like the way you encompassed everything. You touched almost every facet of life when it comes to etiquette and self-management, self-refinement, and how it is needed in the workplace, also in our social settings.
Right.
If we are to rate ourselves globally as a nation, where will we rank in civility?
So I'll use... we have a dichotomy. There are two separate things that we must look at.
Yes.
First of all, I say when people know better, they do better.
Yeah, true.
And a lot of what we see is out of ignorance or out of lack of knowledge.
Yes.
So I will applaud the younger people for taking the time to go online, and whether it's them trying to just be fashion conscious or trying to, look good and feel good, then they do put in the work.
Yes, true.
An older generation is almost stuck in. Now, the other side is we were colonized by the British, so we wore the certain suit and the certain colors because that was what was available in the boomer world, moving into the X generation.
Yeah.
But then the world is now changing really rapidly.
Yeah.
I tell people back in the day, it was a lady who went to the UK and came back with a suitcase full of clothes, and she determined the length of the skirt.
Yes.
Fast forward to today, you go on your phone and you can see what the fashion trend is in Thailand. Now, you can actually pick up a fashion trend that's anywhere around the world today.
Yeah.
And that's just one aspect.
Yes.
Because when we talk about this, we are talking about the three aspects: appearance, which is how the people look; behavior, how we act; and then our communication, how we interact.
Persuasion
and so when we use
skills,
all those three,
Yes.
if we were to rate ourselves, I still think that there's a lot of work that we must put in and do in order to compete in a global world. And then the world changed. So now we have stuff that we could never do before.
Yes.
Companies are engaging. You can work from here and be employed by a company in Russia or in China, for example.
Yes.
And so understanding the global scenario, even as far as etiquette is concerned, is a place we need to maybe step up a little.
Yes.
But on the flip side, there's also a part where the rest of the world must also understand that we have our own cultural etiquette as well.
Yes, true. Yes.
And so there's a way we do business.
Yes.
There's a way we engage and interact. And there are certain foods that cannot be navigated with a fork and knife.
Yeah, I agree with you. Because global integration requires also understanding and grace and respect to each and everybody's culture, each and everybody's belief.
Right.
Which comes to our next question of us, always people resisting integrating or adopting certain rules by saying, oh, that's colonial. You can choose to not conform, not necessarily to a certain culture, and choose to defend your culture in a manner that is going to look more presentable.
Right. And I think and that's the thing. When it comes to, there are two settings.
Yes.
One is the social setting.
Yes.
And in the social setting, we allow you to then bring on your culture full on.
Yeah.
Like, we're having a wedding, it's in the Kamba culture, this is how we're going to do things. We'll dress in a certain way, we'll interact with ourselves in a certain way. But when it comes to the business world, the reason why the international etiquette comes into play is so that there's a level playing field for everybody, and so that the language is understood across the borders.
Yes.
So that then you are able to not shortchange yourself, which is what tends to happen.
Yes.
Because of the resistance,
Yes.
we end up shortchanging ourselves.
Yes.
So you show up at a meeting not appropriately dressed, or speak in a language that is not appropriate, then what happens? You then are losing marks as opposed to gaining. And so you don't want people to not accept your message based on the fact that you are not presenting yourself in the way that allows for people to interact with you. And ultimately, in the business world, that's what we want. We want to engage and make money, or form relationships that lead us to our goal, whether our goal is to do with helping the environment, or whether our goal is to do with ending poverty. You want the people that you're interacting with across cultures to understand what it is that you're presenting,
Yes.
and what it is that the engagement is all about,
Yes.
so that the value exchange is done. That's why the rules exist.
Yes.
Now, if everyone did whatever they wanted, we would have chaos.
Yes.
It would bring a bit of chaos in the space, and then it would be hard. It's almost like in the days when we did butter trade.
Butter trade,
We
yes.
did butter trade,
Yeah.
and so we were exchanging. I'd come with my maize and beans, you'd bring your cow, and we'll try and figure what that volume is. It's the same way with etiquette, that we've created a value exchange that's currency.
Yes.
And that currency, if well used, propels you to do better.
Yes, I agree with that analogy. When you know that you are on a trade, you always want to make sure that you are not on a loss.
Correct.
So you defend your value
Right.
against what is exchanged.
Exactly.
And I think the lack of value within yourself
Right.
might make you negotiate lesser.
It's like it's back to bringing the cow. You bring
Yes,
the cow,
true.
and the cow is dirty.
Yes.
The cow is the cow looks like it's not giving.
Yes,
you
yes,
know?
yes.
And so we will think that it's of less value.
Yes.
Or if I bring my beans and they look like they have weevils in them, and they look like they have, and that's the same thing with
Yeah.
a human being.
Yes.
Is you want to put your best foot forward,
Yes.
because people say you never get a second chance to make a first impression. And so you want to make the best impression that will then set you up for the value exchange that
you are looking for.
Right.
Since we are speaking about first impression, can we elaborate a little bit? Because I see sometime when it comes to civility, or to many people speak about first impression from a point of an etiquette and an image consultant, and who works also on styling sometime. The key component of first impression that really converts, in your perspective, in your research, can you give us the key component of a first impression that really converts?
So the first one is your appearance.
Yes.
It's we call it the visual communication.
Yes.
So how you look and how you show up will really determine what people think about you.
Yes.
And so it's our hair, it's our makeup on our face. And not everybody is a makeup person, not everybody is a weeds
Our
person.
grooming, yeah.
But the grooming is
Yes.
so critical
Yes.
in terms of, because the interactions are, like now we are talking face to face. You're not
Yes.
looking at my feet.
No.
You're looking at my eyes, you're
Yes.
looking at my, so part of it is that appearance.
Yes.
It's about the clothing that we wear.
Yes.
And again, that clothing will be subjected to different cultures.
Yes.
And so there are certain cultures where I won't go with my knees
Yes.
exposed.
Yes.
Why? Because they won't perceive me in the way that I want to be perceived.
Yes.
It's the shoes that we wear, the bag that we carry, and those will set us up for a certain value proposition.
Yes.
And so how you show up physically is critical to how people will perceive you.
Yes,
And then
correct.
there's behavior,
Yes.
how we act. And the acting has to do with our non-verbal communication. So it's our facial expressions. So if I came here and I'm talking about image and I'm sulking, looking, and I'm
Yes.
trying to explain how it's such a wonderful thing,
Yes.
then for you, you'll be like, really?
Yeah.
Like, you know.
Yeah.
So our
Coordinated
body
body language.
Body
Yeah.
language.
Yeah.
Where do I put my hands?
Yes.
Where do I, what expressions am I making?
Yes.
How am I using my body? And then it goes a step further to talk about dining etiquette, for example.
Yes.
People will always interact in business around food.
Yes,
So it's
true.
the cocktail, it's the dinner, it's the
The
lunch.
confidence that you have.
That you have navigating the the cutlery and crockery on the table, the napkin, the confidence that you have around food.
Yes.
And also food is a place where we tell where you are brought up and whether you had or you didn't have.
Yeah, true.
And then also some of the simple things like if you season your food before you taste it,
Yes.
will tell us the type of person you are.
Yeah, true.
That you are irrational, that you jump into things without, thinking about them. So that's your behavior.
Yeah.
And then we move to communication, which is now your spoken, written engagement. And for that, it's vocabulary.
Yes.
Use of language.
Yes.
I know we talk about it and we say, yes, we have the new generations that are coming up.
Yes.
But if you're going to interact with people who speak full English, you may want to have full English sentences.
Yes.
And not
Polished language.
And by the way, the world is available to you.
Yes.
AI can teach you.
Yes.
YouTube can teach you.
Yes.
There's so many tools available now to give people the knowledge and to sound clever.
Yes.
And use words that people will be like, oh, wow.
Yes.
Because that's what people are looking out for.
True.
And that's the engagement that they are looking for. So in terms of the three components, I say that's the three: appearance, behavior, and communication. We say that the ABCs of image.
Yes.
Yeah.
The ABCs of a converting first impression.
Right. And then
image, behavior, and communication skills.
Right.
Remember, you have a limited time to make a first impression. Stay poised, mind your presence, mind your presentation skills, the way you use your space, the behavior that you're portraying, the way you are, your ability to communicate and build good rapport. Is there any way in all this that we have seen? Because sometimes introvert people like myself,
and I actually don't believe that, but okay,
had always given or gave ourselves the excuse, because I'm an introvert,
right,
I'm not able to do ABCD.
Right.
Can we demystify this with practical examples that you have just portrayed? How an introvert people can still build a good first impression that convert without necessarily throwing yourself out there.
So let me say, I think that a lot of the extroverts we think are extroverts are mostly introverted extroverts.
Yeah, true.
So when we come out to play, but when we get back, we want to still be in our own little spaces, trying to do our own little thing and not even wanting engagement with everybody. And I say that even for the extroverts, we come out and we do it afraid.
Yes,
a lot
true.
of people have, it's fear.
Yes,
that stops us
100%.
from playing full out.
Yes.
It's fear that makes you think, what will others think about me?
Yeah.
And so the first thing I'd say is find your truth.
Yes.
What is it that you are passionate about, that you think you bring to the table?
Yes.
And if you don't know how to do that, then come and see us. Then
Yes.
we can help you navigate. And if not us,
build
another
that
coach.
confidence.
Build that confidence and find the true you
Yes.
that you can bring to the table. Because I
Yes.
always say, the minute you get an introvert and you get their sweet spot, what they're passionate about, then they open up.
Yes,
and they become
they
like
do.
a flower.
Yes,
and
they do.
They even outtalk you.
Yes, true.
Matters what they're passionate about. And then also it's sometimes we find ourselves in spaces that we are not familiar with, and I say you have to do the homework,
Yes,
do the
true.
research.
Yeah.
So like now, if people are talking about economics, for example,
Yes.
you may not that may not be your strong point, but again, Google is your friend. You can actually find conversation
Yes.
online or doing research that can make you sound intellectual in that area. It may even be about sports, for example.
Yes.
You don't have to have played the sport to know it.
Yeah.
But if you take some time to do the homework,
Yes.
then it becomes easier to engage.
I agree.
And one of the things I think that we women don't want to do is the hard work.
Yes.
But it doesn't come
Baby
easy.
girl era.
Princess vibes.
Yeah.
Like, just leave me alone.
Yeah.
The world will have to just come
Yeah.
to me. We were
Yes.
having this conversation earlier.
Yeah, I want to come to that because I'm seeing this tendency of laying back or doing less in terms of the way I look, the way I appear, the types of clothes I choose, like carelessness when it comes to poise, when it comes... People have the tendency of thinking that authenticity is being ungroomed. Have you seen that correlation?
And that is, it's true on some level,
Yes.
but I think the bigger conversation is around emotional intelligence.
Yes.
Knowing when,
Yes.
because when you show up outside your home,
Yes.
then we're in a sight and sound generation,
Yes.
where the cameras are on, full on, and we will take the video, and that's what we're going to show in the online real estate.
Yeah, true.
And so it's the minute you leave your house, I think in the comfort of your home, feel free to do what you want.
Yes.
But when you come out,
Yeah.
you're already now in the public space,
Yes.
and the world is watching.
Yes.
And you want to then, I always ask people, how do you want to be perceived?
Yeah, true.
And that will determine the behavior that you then have. So if people know that dressing in a certain way will give this perception, then more likely than not, they won't.
Yes, I love that. As you have pointed on that point, how can now the kind of lack or the kind of perceptions that we lead as leaders, as a community representative, especially our leaders whenever they are going into international meetings, receiving international guests, and we find them dressed inappropriately.
And so the conversation, I think the challenge is for me and you,
Yes.
because the assumption is that they've gone through those classes.
Yeah.
And if they have gone through those classes, that they've gone through them with professionals.
Yes, true.
I think the big challenge for us is to actually say to our leaders and our leadership,
Yes.
this is important and you need to take the classes.
Yes.
Because they will help you navigate the business world.
Mm-hmm.
They will help you put the nation on a platform where they know that you are equals and not beggars, or not,
Yes.
the perception
Yes.
that it's part of our setting ourselves up for success as a nation,
Yes.
as a group of leaders.
Yes.
But we have to teach that.
Yeah.
I say for a long time we've made assumptions
Yes.
that people come into office. If you actually do the bios of the people who get into these positions, they've never done any formal training.
No, they never done, especially for soft skills.
Especially for soft skills.
for soft
So they'll
skills.
go to the hard skills classes.
Yeah.
They'll be taught what diplomacy is
Yes.
and what this other stuff is.
Yeah.
But they won't be taught where to put their hands when
Yes.
they stand.
Yeah.
And so a lot of them will put their hand. You and I will look and be like,
Yeah.
oh no.
Yeah.
Or they haven't been taught how to use a fork and a knife.
Yes.
Or how to engage around food.
Yes.
When it's when the style of food
Yeah.
is not from their culture.
Yes.
So for me, it's and it goes beyond even the fork and knife. You may find yourself in a culture that uses chopsticks.
Yes, true.
Or in a culture that uses their hands.
Their hands,
and not
yeah.
know that there's a hand you can't use.
Yes, true.
Or in a certain culture you can't lick your fingers.
Yes, true.
And so being culturally aware and understanding civility
Yes.
is something that we must challenge ourselves
Yes.
to say.
Must come to our basic settings as a society.
And we must also propose that
Yes,
to
true.
the leadership.
Yeah,
and
true.
so it's one of the things I like work for
Yes.
both of us.
Yeah, true.
Because it's embarrassing.
Yes, it
And,
is.
and we usually will sit there and think, this could have gone so much better.
Yes.
This could actually be a platform to set us up for greatness, but it's being used to in the negative sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's say leadership now to the business context. Do you think lack of civility in negotiation skills, in etiquette, in empathy and emotional intelligence? I tell that emotional intelligence should be part of etiquette, because when you know how to regulate, when you know how to read the room, when you know when to exit, when you know how to respond and deflect unpleasant, pressurizing questions, it's part of etiquette. In our negotiation skills within organization, within businesses, what are the practical tips that we can provide to our leaders or women in leadership?
Women in leadership. Well, first of all, it's understanding the culture of the organization that you're
Yeah.
part of. That may be a very big thing.
Yeah.
And I tell people, once you've understood, and understanding means doing even the research and the homework.
Yeah.
So you find, for example, you're dealing with a lot of Western organizations
Yes.
are very laid back in their style.
Yes.
And even how they will make references to one another.
Yes.
Call me Nthenya,
Yeah.
call me
Yeah.
Alice.
Yes.
No titles,
No
this,
title,
that,
yeah,
the other.
yeah. Mm.
So understanding the culture of the place that you're engaging in,
Yes.
first of all, makes you armed. and armed with the relevant tools to then know how to navigate that space. And then also understanding because it's hard to pass an exam for a test you haven't read for or studied.
Yes,
And
obviously.
oftentimes people come in, if I was coming from another organization, I make assumptions that everybody is like us.
Yes.
It's the same assumptions that are made even when we travel globally.
Yes.
That everyone should be like us.
Yes.
And so you'll hear people say, oh, these ones are on African time. One of the dangers is that we've never taken the time to understand that Africans are people-oriented and not time-oriented.
Yes.
So if you're in Africa, the timings may be challenging if you're a person who is on the clock.
Yes.
But when we now then go to a meeting in another country, we must understand that the people are time-oriented.
Yes.
And
They're
so
chrono,
we cannot use it's okay, I'll be a few minutes late without notifying the people, without, engaging and saying that,
I'm not late.
Keeping the communication or there was so much traffic.
Yeah.
Like those are non-issues in those cultures.
Yes, true.
So for me, learning what the culture is for where you are, whether organization or nation, helps you to then find out what the rules are and then play by the rules. And I say we can tweak the rules a little, but those rules exist so that there's harmony in business, so that people can do even better. So for me, the challenge is learn the rules.
Yes, learning the rules.
Learn the rules. Know what the rules are. Then as you're now, you can play around with the rules, but the rules are already there.
Yes.
If you play outside the rules and say, because a lot of us in defiance are like, no, we can't do that.
Yeah.
I'm my own person, but you're not playing in a teamwork is part of soft skills.
Yes.
Leadership is part of the soft skills world. So in order for you to play in a higher level, for me, understanding rules is critical.
Understanding rules.
Yeah.
I agree with you. And I would add reading the room, seeing the ambience, seeing the mood, because sometimes you would want people to discuss serious things and it's not the time, it's not the mood, they're not motivated.
Right.
That's also another ability to read the room. That's part of the emotional...
that's people skills.
Yeah, that's a people skills, part of emotional intelligence, readings. And I would also say, not necessarily you will have to agree with everybody.
Correct.
Learning how to navigate difficult conversation, not to avoid them.
Right.
Being able to know when it is heated, how do I regulate myself?
And then also not everyone will like you. Especially as women, not everyone will like you.
Yes.
But everyone should respect you, but they don't have to like you.
Yes. In professional grounds, I see most of the time, even in our news, we see sometimes people in parliament picking tempers, fighting each other because they are not heard, because maybe their idea was not the one that was voted.
Right.
This level of incivility in our different platforms, in our different organization or entities, is it really necessary? Do you think it's because there is lack of emotional intelligence and self-regulation? Do you feel like it's because there is somehow people looking for self-relevance? Or what is your take on that?
So, first of all, I like the point you brought up about being heard.
Yes.
Every human being has a desire to be heard.
Yes.
But you'll find a lot of us want to hear or listen to respond.
Oh, yes.
So I'm seated here waiting for your next question with an answer already.
Oh,
I haven't had time to process, understand, and then come up with a solution.
Yes.
That listening to respond often brings conflict.
Yes.
Because for the minute that I feel that I'm not understood, then I'm going to shout louder. And we usually feel that's how the emotional intelligence piece comes in, is that if I shout louder, or if I put up a poster, then you'll hear me. And and ultimately, that's not the case.
That's not the case.
And so for me, there's a case for leadership here.
Yes.
Where, like you say, read the room and also help, if you're the leader, navigate the challenges around active listening and the ability to give the responses. And the responses could be done and again, people often don't necessarily care what you said, but it's how you made them feel.
True, I agree.
Oftentimes, we don't want to feel put down.
Yeah.
And it is a play that we see, whether it's in the boardroom,
In charge.
in government, where people are talking down at us,
Yes.
and we don't like that.
That's
Humans
true.
don't like that.
They do.
We want to feel respected,
Yes.
heard, valued, and then as a response, we will give you the whether we agree or not, the response will not be combative, and it will not bring tension or undue stress. But if that doesn't happen, you are going to see scenes you've never seen, which is where now the emotions become high and the crazy begins to happen.
The crazy begin to. I'm seeing this also aspect in church, because sometimes I don't know if I can quote this incivility or maybe incivility, for lack of a better word, because I see the pastor is so passionate about bringing people to Jesus, preaching so hard, so loud until they get too sweaty, too wet. They jump here, they jump there. It end up becoming like a performance.
Yes.
But when you go to a different culture, you will find someone who is teaching in a composed way, and the words are flowing. It is also giving you the room to self-reflect, to process the message, and self-convince that, oh, I really need Jesus. I really need this. What is this incivility in church that, will you call that incivility? Will you call it ignorance? Will you call it lack of convincing skills?
So I think it's a way that was popular.
Yes.
And it was a way that was popular with a certain generation, let me say that.
Yeah.
And then the world evolved. And in my perspective, the harvest needs a different way to be harvested. Initially, we started with a combined harvester and tried to harvest everything.
Yes.
But now some of the harvest may require the hand picking.
Yes, true.
And I think COVID showed us that the walls of the church could be broken down.
Yes.
And we could have people have engaged with pastors who are not even in their country.
Yes, true.
And say that's where I fellowship, because it speaks to me in the language that I want.
Yes.
And you find that in the church, what will happen is people will protest, but not on the streets. They'll do it by not coming.
Yes.
By not showing up.
Yes.
If they feel that it's too much or it's not working, and you'll even notice when they send out the bulletin that so-and-so is preaching this Sunday.
Yeah. The showing up is reduced. The numbers
are reduced. But when they have the person who they feel speaks to them in the language that they understand, then the numbers increase or the numbers change.
Yes.
And so it is, part of it is
preference.
No. I also will say that the Bible schools didn't teach etiquette.
Yeah.
And didn't teach appearance, behavior, communication.
Yes.
So we only taught
space management.
We taught the word. We taught how to make the 3-point sermon.
Yeah.
And those they've worked on really great.
Yeah.
But we never talked about the visual communication.
Yes.
When you wear this color, what does this color say?
Communicate.
And what does it communicate?
Yeah.
We also didn't talk about if you're moving from the stage and coming down, how does that affect the cameras? How does that affect the people seated in the back? How does that? So we never talked.
How does that help you to be more approachable?
Right.
With
we also
the
never
audience?
talked about the microphone.
Yes.
The microphone is unidirectional. This is how it works.
Yes.
We never gave those lessons.
Yes.
Which are very important.
Yes,
And they're not only important for the pastor, they're also important for the music groups. They're also important for the entire group.
Yes,
now
true.
in our devices, my device will tell me if I'm in a place that has too much sound.
Yes.
That will affect my ears.
Yes, true.
That's the space, that's the world we have
technology,
arrived at. The technology.
Yeah.
And like before, where we could be at a concert and our ears are blasted almost to infinity because no one was regulating that. So for me, there is all of it has to do with education.
Education.
And empowerment.
Because I'm seeing soft skills being like, I like comparing soft skills like the condiment in a burger, the sauce part that tenderize a burger. You see the way we have two buns, I will compare the two buns and the big chunk of meat, like our hardest skills. Maybe it's your expertise, maybe you are a doctor, maybe you went to specialize in neurosurgery, you went to do that. Those are your hard part of your burger. Then your poise, your presence, your persuasion skills, your negotiation skills, your presence are the softer part, are the mayonnaise, the sauce, the onion that are put in between. And then when people munch on you, people munch on your expertise, there is that interaction of flavors. That's what makes a burger more irresistible. If we know that as professionals, that my hard skills might not sell me necessarily without putting the layers, the condiment. Because who will ever eat those two bun with a big
piece of
steak?
it just like that? No.
It will be
I really
unbiteable.
I love that example.
You see?
And I think that it's also important to tell everybody that they're important for everybody.
Yeah, true.
No matter what profession you're in.
Honestly, they are.
No matter where you are.
Yes.
And let's say that soft skills is also your ability to interact with people.
Yes.
And statistics says that 85% of your success in any business is based on your soft skills.
100%, I agree. Because they're the one who do the introduction. They're the one who will sustain your retention.
Correct.
They're the one who will... You and I, we have, let's say, maybe a hairdresser.
Right.
Maybe a gyna.
Right.
Maybe, let me use those. Maybe a garagist, a mechanic.
Right.
Whom you keep following.
Yes.
Not necessarily because of their expertise, but because of
how they make us feel.
The way they make you feel important, the way they make you feel heard, the way they make you feel satisfied, the aftercare, all that other things, other beyond expertise.
Absolutely.
And there are other experts that you have dropped.
Correct. Because
lack of that.
Correct. Before I got my gyna, I had tried 3 other people.
Yes.
Who I was like, these people are seeing me as a statistic and not as a human.
Yes, true.
And so we are big about relational exchanges as opposed to transactional ones. And most importantly, you're also looking for transformation.
Yes,
that
true.
In my engagement with you, I'm going to leave there uplifted, excited, I'm ready to face whatever it is.
Yes.
And while I'm at it, I actually look good.
Yes.
So it is important, no matter what field of expertise you're in, if you're a doctor, bedside manner is going to be really critical. Yes. How you speak with your, how you break bad news or good news, all that is part of the soft skills.
Yes, true.
So it's something that none of us can get away from or live without. And the faster you begin to learn the soft skills or even enhance the ones you already have.
Yes,
because a lot of us have them in the back of our mind.
Yeah, true.
We grew up, our mom telling us, this is how a lady should sit.
Yes,
this is
true.
how we were taught those things growing up. But some of us then want to ignore that and think it was old wives' tales.
Yes.
But it's not. It's part of our life's experience, and it's what makes people remember us.
True.
It's what makes people engage with us. I say, even from the engagement with the security guard, how you treat that person will determine what access they give you.
Yeah, true.
And so no matter what the cadre, the tier, the tribe, the language, it works the same way. I'll give the example of a smile.
Yes.
You'll be at an airport in Cameroon where they speak French.
Yes.
And you smile.
Yes.
And they smile back.
Yes, they do.
And you won't be able to communicate necessarily in
the language.
The language
yeah.
But there is something that has been communicated that then changes that engagement or interaction.
Yes.
Better yet, even an exchange. You're at the airport in Ethiopia and you give a greeting that's in their language. Immediately, someone's eyes light up. Their experience towards you changes. So those are some of the small examples of what the power of soft skills can do for a person in not just the business world, but even in our social interactions.
Yes.
Because it's often the social interactions that lead us to the business interactions.
Yes, true.
Yeah. Because, for example, like you and I met at a social event.
Yes.
Had we not had a great exchange,
no,
we wouldn't be here today.
No, yes, I agree with you.
I'm not interested.
Who's that? Who's I agree. What would you say, or what would you tell to people who always say, I'm not good at small talks, I want deep conversations and all that? Because this is a way of building good rapport. It's a way of in a civil way of introducing yourself, your intentions. As you say, when you smile to somebody, they see peace, they see safety, they see need of exchange. When someone is saying, hey, giving you a smile, it's a way, I'm a safe person.
Right.
I'm harmless.
Right.
Can we talk? It's a sign of acceptance to engage. So when it comes to communication, the entry point is always the small talk.
It is, yes.
What would you tell people who fear small talks?
The same story of the burger.
Yeah.
Do you want a dry burger? Or do you want one that is so glorious? And that's what soft skills, that's what we're saying.
Yeah.
We're saying that the burger is more tasty
Yes.
and more memorable
Yes.
when it has wonderful, not just condiments, but when the
Yes.
condiments have been done really well.
Yes.
So let's take the burger conversation a little further.
Yes.
So there's the dry burger at some other place.
Yes.
And then there's the really good burger that you remember.
That is
That was so
succulent.
juicy.
Yeah.
And those are the things you remember, how seasoned it was and all
Yes,
that stuff.
yeah.
It's the same with the small talk.
Yes.
That come and just go straight to the point
Yes.
and see what that does for the interaction.
Yes.
It will be the feeling that people will be left with is the dry burger.
Yes,
But
true.
if you do the small talk, and so what I do say to people is, it's not that hard.
Yes, it's not.
It's not that hard.
It's not.
We can give you the basics. People like to talk about the weather.
Yes.
Oh, it's become so cold. That will always open up a conversation and get you started.
Yeah.
So people like to talk about the weather. People like to talk about themselves.
Yes.
People like to, there are some basic, simple things that people enjoy to talk
Yes,
about.
yes.
That would be a good place to start.
Yes.
And you can learn. And then I say, practice, practice, practice. So if you're that person who's shy and afraid, go to the mirror and practice.
That's how I learned, actually. Being an introvert who feared to speak or to introduce myself, I would feel something blocking here all the time. So I would go to the mirror and talk to myself certain things.
And so I'll say this, that
Yeah.
first of all, the greatest fear of any human beyond death is public speaking.
Yeah.
And the way our mind works is, if we tell ourselves a narrative long enough,
Yes.
our body believes it. And so
True.
that clogging of the arteries and sweating of the palms is the natural reaction to you telling yourself long enough that I can't speak in front of people.
Speak in front of people.
And
yeah.
so the other thing is self-affirmation. So
Yes.
changing the narrative
Yeah.
and saying, I'm wonderful around people.
Yeah.
I'm very good with small talk. The more you get into speaking positively to yourself, the more you begin to see changes happening. And then practice.
Yeah, true.
Yeah. Yeah.
I agree. When it comes to what could you be the cost of not having all those skills, the cost of incivility in our workplace performance, in our global competitiveness, in our mostly that. Let's start by in our workspace. What could be the cost of incivility in our workplace, in our negotiation, in our performance?
Very good question.
Yeah.
I think the direct answer is you lose. And the simple, long-winded answer is that day the boss wanted to go with somebody, be accompanied by somebody to this meeting, but looked at you and you're not appropriately dressed for that meeting that they wanted to go with, and they pick somebody else.
Yes.
And so missed opportunities are a big, they're part of that. Missed opportunities are one of the things that ends up happening. And that will happen even, you'll be on a flight, you'll be somewhere around the world, and it could have just taken a hello to meet the contact you've been looking for.
Yes.
And the engagement that you have. I recently had an interesting engagement at an airport.
Yes.
Where someone bumped into me and asked me, I was carrying a backpack for the organization that I work for.
Yeah.
And they asked me, do you work for this organization? And that sparked a conversation, an exchange of contacts,
Yes.
and future engagement.
Yeah, true.
I could have easily been like, I'm not interested. I'm not good at small talk. I am on my way. I'm going to miss my flight. But no, I stopped, made the time to have the engagement. And so missed opportunities, missed and business opportunities, missed relationships.
Yes.
Because you never know. A lot of the people watching you are probably single.
Yes. True.
Single and older.
Yes.
And then you're waiting at home for for Mr. Right.
Yes.
And he's probably at that cocktail that you refuse to go to.
Yeah.
Or that...
or you went wearing anyhow.
right.
Yeah.
Looking just like
basic.
you are.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, I would like to speak about that because I've seen moments where mostly, let me talk about Black, because we are empowering more our Black community.
Yes.
You're going to take a flight, you are either going on a holiday or on a business trip, and then you go dressed almost in pajamas or dressed very casually. You have not probably even showered.
Right.
You have your hair that is not made. Yeah, this is me, the authentic me. And the kind of, the perception that you lead about that particular appearance and the perception that you will lead when you are fully dressed in a respectable manner, in a decent manner, you will be received differently. You will be treated differently. I have seen that, and that is one of the scrutiny that is done mostly in this international airport. When they see someone who is not well put together, who is not well dressed, who is in a baggy manner, they scrutinize you. They want to check your passport.
That's very true.
They want to check your bags differently.
Yes.
But when you are dressed in a decent manner, when you are poised and composed, you are not shouting, everyone is respectful around you because they see there is self-respect. This person is aware that is carrying an important person in themselves.
Correct. I mean, like you put it in the best way possible.
Yeah.
And the first thing I'll start by saying is people need to stop saying, I don't care.
Yeah, I agree.
We're often I don't care. It doesn't matter.
Yeah, true.
I'm not my hair. I'm not my, I don't know what.
Yeah.
And for me, the attitude needs to change.
Yes.
To the minute you leave your house, there's an opportunity for an engagement that will better your life.
Yeah.
Even
Always.
from a Christian perspective,
Always.
God will send your help through a person.
Yeah, true.
Even the so-called angels, in my
Yes.
perspective,
Yes.
look like you and me.
Yes.
And if you're not showing up as you want to be addressed, we say you're addressed the way you're dressed.
Yes.
And people will respond to you based on the basics, how you look and the manners, the civility, and that's how they will decide whether they want to do business with you, whether they like you or not,
Yes.
whether they want to take you out on the date. And so for me, the bigger thing is the attitude, that we need to get off the attitude of it doesn't matter.
Yes.
And I don't care. So image matters.
Yes.
We used to listen to the Sprite commercial, obey your thirst. Image is nothing. Image is everything.
Yes.
Image matters. It plays a key role. Civility matters.
Yes.
How we treat other people will determine, one, how they treat us. And it also determine how far we go in this journey that we call life.
I agree with you.
Yeah.
Civility can be the best card a person who wants to go global should always play. This made me think on how us women, sometimes we want to justify our aggressiveness by saying, oh, because I'm in a male-dominated industry, I have to put a certain face, I have to put some aggression, I have to look like somehow forcing things to be noticed or to enhance my visibility. What is your take on that?
So I think that it's a narrative that was told to us that is untrue.
Yes.
That we have to portray ourselves in a certain way that is not authentic and that is not female. And unfortunately for me, I think that we are already by design positioned to succeed when it comes to soft skills.
It's
it comes
true.
Naturally
in our softness.
Yes.
Yeah.
We are the female expression of who God is. We are the softer side.
Yes.
So the gentleness, kindness, sensitivity, the hug and love of a mother comes naturally to us as women.
Yes.
And sometimes we think that that's not needed in the workspace.
Yes.
Yet it is.
Yes, it is. Because we find that many people, to be taken seriously, they have to suppress their feminine, their softer part.
Right.
They have to suppress their nurturing, empathy, so that they look like
and
tough.
Truth be told,
Yes.
that they tend up. The tendency is for us to perceive them as not good bosses. Or as not,
true.
So in the workspace, you'll find that the women in power or in leadership are perceived in a negative sense because of those virtues or things that they exhibit. Yet,
Imported layers, because that are not necessarily their nature.
Yet, if they actually went with their nature and then did it with a level of excellence, then the results would be even more unbelievable.
Yeah, true.
And that's based on the fact that people want to be, to feel. It's about a feeling, and that comes naturally to us, being able to help people experience a feeling, an emotion. It's the same thing with our personal brands.
Yes,
the
true.
Branding conversation has to do with not just how we've put ourselves together, but the experience in terms of emotion and feeling that people get.
Yes, how they feel when they're around you.
How they feel, and even when you leave the room.
Yes, true.
What we remember is not the $1 million outfit, but the experience and emotions that are attached to you.
Yeah, true, 100%. That is commonly known as the vibe.
The vibe. It was giving. There were certain
stories
that came out. And so you want to be able to, and for us, the encouragement to women is that play in your strength.
Yeah, true.
We talk about when you want to grow, you can easily grow your strengths from 80% to 100 to 120, then you can grow your weaknesses.
Yeah, I agree. This is a very nice approach, actually, because when people had the tendency to normalize aggression and identify it as strength, as assertiveness, and the tendency to also associate tenderness with weakness. And then women have the tendency to avoid being tender so that they are not tagged as weak or soft. So they think when I'm aggressive in my tone, in my gestures, in my body language, I'm going to be taken more seriously.
Right. And the point is what we talked about earlier is emotional intelligence.
It's true.
Where is the balance? That there's a balance. There's a time to be, to use, and the word here would be, we'll use the word strong loosely.
Yes.
That you have a strong personality that can be brought out without being condescending, without being nasty, without being, you can
bossy.
You can get work done. You can achieve great goals without being a pain in the somewhere.
Yeah, true.
That it's possible to produce results without yelling at people or
making everyone else feel less important,
or even causing anxiety.
Yes, true.
Because you'll find today a big word that is used by the younger people is what? Toxic.
Yes, true.
They'll say my boss is toxic. As a result, they don't have time for it.
Yes,
and
true.
That toxicity is a word that's trying to explain the emotions people end up feeling when they're around you.
Yeah, inability to deliver to their test.
Right. So that emotion is what now is they will refer to as
toxic. Yeah.
Because if your way of addressing issues is causing me to feel a way that's not making me productive, then I don't want to be in that space.
Yeah, I agree with you.
And another conversation that we must be having is about bridging the generation gaps.
Yes.
You and I are in a similar generation with history that's the same. And it's easy for us to say, this is how we us guys did it and this is what works.
This is the way.
And this is the way.
Yeah.
Yet we are now engaging in the workplace. We have probably 4 generations who all have to coexist, and we must embrace each generation with the perspective that they bring to the table.
Yeah, true.
So some will require more flexibility. Others will require more pressure in order to perform. But if you don't understand that as a leader, then you're going to struggle and end up with the labels that are not necessarily who you are. Because you meet the women who go through the experience of being called certain names at work, and you meet them and you're like, you're such a nice person. Why would people perceive you in that way? Yes,
because when you happen to meet certain people in person, you will have a different experience on what they portray in the workplace. And when you ask, they say that, I have to put that face so for me to be taken seriously.
And we won't say that we are ignorant of the challenges that are there as women in the workplace. Because there are major challenges.
Yes, true.
Dealing with our male counterparts, dealing with other women.
Oh,
that
talk about
should
that.
never make you lose
Yes.
your authentic self.
Yeah,
Because what
true.
happens is most women end up losing themselves. And
Yeah.
even when they look and they're like, who is that person?
Yeah. Why
Or when
did I do this?
Or when they
Why?
come home, their tendency is to take the mask
Yeah,
off
true.
and then now try and be their real self.
Yes.
And that's living a duality life that doesn't bear
It's really
great
draining.
fruit.
Yeah.
It's draining.
Yeah.
And then you'll find at the end, even when they leave those positions, they're almost like a sigh of relief. Like, I finally now can be myself.
Mm-hmm.
Yet you needed to have been yourself and showed up as yourself and played full out as yourself in order for us to get the results that were expected of you.
Yes.
From creation to your purpose and what it is that you're designed to do.
Yeah. Embracing soft skills, actually, if it's a best way to win influence without necessarily doing the hard part.
And being mindful about
Being
people.
mindful. I like what Dale Carnegie. I've seen a book there on how to win people and influence people.
Yes.
In that book, Carnegie has a very nice comparison of how to build influence. Sometimes you find that people will work on their poise, looking the part.
Right.
When you look the part, you are like a flashy, like you are noticeable. People can notice you.
Right.
That's not really enough. Yes, win that first flash. Then when you find that people have the tendency to look good, and then when you converse with them, they have zero content, they have zero substance. So you say, this was just an empty paper.
Right.
Then there is this other big chunk of people with great substance. Whenever they speak, they have knowledge, they have deep analysis. They are great in their approach of how they view life. They are good analysts. They have amazing views that you would love to hear, but they don't look the part.
Right.
So those are sometimes even left out, neglected, and sometimes you will say, until you meet the person, wow,
Yes.
I didn't know that you're this knowledgeable. These people always miss the first impression part.
Right.
Until later, they will be discovered and be given the credit that they deserve.
Right.
And she used to say that most people who behave like that are scientists, because people who have done science, math, professors, analysts, strategists, they don't give the part of looking the part so much relevance. So he said that is an element that you really need to work on, because your expertise need an introduction.
Right. And I think part of it still goes back to education.
Yeah, true.
Our education systems, especially if people did STEM, were leaning towards, and even growing up, you find they would say, you're spending too much time making yourself up, you should be reading.
Yes.
So it was almost put down.
Yeah.
And spending time on grooming and spending time on your appearance was almost shunned upon.
Yes.
And it was left to the not A students, because the A students were the ones who ended up in the engineering and those other and the medicine.
The medicine.
And then it was for those ones you just need to read.
Yeah.
And because you're clever, that's all that matters. But
Yeah,
what we are
I don't
saying,
have to look the part. My
you get
brain
the straight
does.
A.
Yeah, true.
You get the straight A.
Yeah,
It comes naturally to you.
Yeah.
And the people who are probably in the creative arts spend more time
into looking the part. Yeah.
And actually, there was a saying in our culture that was kizuri chajiuza, kibaya chajitembeza, which meant that the bad things walk around selling themselves, while the really good things just sit in one place and they are bought off the shelf, which was not true.
Yeah,
because when we came to the world that we are in today, marketing is critical.
Yes, it is.
And marketing is also packaging.
But yes.
When you walk into a supermarket and you're buying a product, if it's a product,
what really pick your eye
you're going to
fast?
engage with the one that looks really good.
Yes, true.
Before you even think about
Quality,
and those
composition,
other things.
yeah.
Yeah, and so part of it is education.
Yes.
It's us going back to the drawing board and saying, that's why we're saying that the soft skills are useful for every, whatever work you do. Any profession requires soft skills.
100%.
Because people engage, people engage and like beautiful things.
We cannot allow Nthenya to leave this podcast without speaking about importance of image without speaking about dress code. Can we?
I'm not.
Dress code
Like this topic is one of those you may need to have an entire podcast series.
Yes, true.
About this.
Yeah,
But
about
we
civility.
can talk about that civility.
Yeah.
We also talk about social currency.
Yes,
and how
true.
there's behavior
Yes.
that gives you more than money can buy
100%.
and gets you into places that you'd never have gotten into.
100%.
I mean, there's so many things you and I need to
talk.
Yeah, but
let's
dressing
talk
is very important.
Yeah, so when we speak about civility in dress code, because I see this is a main challenge and a big gap that we have in our leadership, mostly in business and also in civil society, not knowing how to look the part, not knowing how to dress for the occasion.
Right.
Not knowing how to, that colors, the color psychology, how the colors speak about your leadership ability, about your approachability, about your openness. Can we talk a little bit about that? The incivility in dress code, how it affects the perceptions that we want to lead about ourselves. Let's talk about personal branding, for example. When we speak about Michelle Obama, when we speak about Margaret Kenyatta in our local context, when we speak about Caroline Mutoko, there is an image that flashed in your head of these women as I spell them out. There is an image that came to mind. I believe our perception toward those women are similar.
That's
because
true.
they showed up and they laid perception in us about who they are, about their personality. When you describe for me, what do you think could be the personality of Margaret Kenyatta, for example? Our former first lady.
Yeah. Elegant.
Yes.
Smart.
Yes.
Stately.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. I will do the same.
Right.
I'm seeing timeless.
Right.
Elegant, simplicity.
Right.
I'm seeing assertive.
Right.
Confidence.
Right.
We are not far apart.
No, we're not.
This woman could afford any type of hairstyle you can imagine every single day. She can afford every type of clothes.
Right.
Every type of nail style.
Right.
But she chose a certain person style that is going to lead perception about her personality.
So this is the part I put the plug.
Yes,
that
please.
She had help.
Yes, she did.
And a lot of us want to do it on our own.
Yes.
And I say, if your car is broken down,
Yes.
don't call your neighbor to fix it. Take it to the mechanic.
Yeah.
And it's the same thing when it comes to image.
Yes.
A lot of us are trying to DIY.
Yes.
Yet Alice is here.
Yes.
Coach Alice is here and
Yeah.
she has gone to school
Yeah.
and knows, because some of the things we're talking about here are technical terms.
Yes, they are.
And people need to know that.
Yes.
And I'll tell you, in our society,
Yeah.
how we grew up was we wore our best clothes on Sunday.
Yeah. Yeah. Best Sunday.
So we used to keep our really nice clothes.
Yeah.
We'd wear them on special occasions.
Yes.
And then the rest of the week, we would just be the odd,
laid back.
however we feel.
Yeah.
And that mentality has never left.
Yes, true.
Where you'll go into a woman's closet
Yes.
and find the most amazing handbag or shoes that are still in the wrapper.
Yes. It's waiting for an occasion.
That will never come.
Yeah.
And so part of the challenge I usually give to women is carry the good bag.
Yeah, true.
Wear the good clothes today. And don't worry about Alice saying that she saw that dress yesterday. It
Yes.
doesn't matter.
Yeah,
Because
true.
if you look good, you look good.
Yes.
And for me, I'm also big about people finding a personal style.
Yes.
Because fashion goes quickly out of fashion.
Yeah, true.
Today the jeans are like this, tomorrow they're like that.
Yeah.
Tomorrow this is fashionable and the next day it's not.
It's not, yeah.
So finding your personal style, which is based on your body shape,
Yes.
which is based on your skin tone,
Yes.
and the colors that bring you out the best in you.
Yeah.
That's the direction that
Yeah.
I would challenge the women
Yeah.
to first get professional help that helps them navigate the world of image.
Yes.
And then, like you say, there are different cycles of our lives.
Yes.
Before I had children, I could wear 6-inch heels.
Yes.
After my CS, I couldn't.
Yeah.
But I found halfway points
Yes.
that were still elegant and still brought out the best in me.
Yes.
And so there are professionals who can help you navigate those spaces.
Yes.
And I feel it's high time for us to normalize getting help.
Yes, true. I agree with you.
Like you've said with your podcast, you're bringing
Yes.
experts
Yes.
so that people can engage and get help.
Yes.
And when you get help, then and good help, which is
You stop guessing. It
you
isn't the
stop
process.
guessing,
Yeah.
and you also stop wasting money. Because I
Yes.
feel like a lot of women have so much stuff that was a mistake to buy in the first place.
Yes. The constant
the
feel of I have nothing to wear.
Exactly.
And
You're
the
invited to
closet
an event,
is full.
and the minute you're going to be like, I have nothing to wear, and the
Yes.
closet is full.
Yeah, true.
And it's full, and it's ungovernable,
Yes.
and then we wear 20% of our closet 80% of the time.
Yes.
So when you're invited to an event, that the first thing you pick, even when you're going for a simple function that requires jeans,
Yes.
there's only one pair of jeans that you'll go to.
All the time.
Yeah. So once you're able to realize that it's not your strength, or even if it is, you may need to understand what the rules are. For example, the business suit.
Yes.
Maybe the language for business in certain settings.
Yes. Yeah.
And if you don't own a good suit
Yes.
in the colors that are appropriate for the industry that you're in,
Yes.
then so you can have a good suit, but
It's
it's
a
in the
waste
wrong
of
color.
money. Yeah.
It's a waste of money. It's a waste of, and then it won't give you the desired result.
Yes.
So yes, you may be wearing a suit, but it's in the wrong color.
Yes.
Or the wrong cut, or the wrong style. And most of us like.
And the contentment rate
Yes.
is very low. That's why you keep buying
That's why you
and buy
keep-
because
that's why you keep buying. That's why you keep buying.
Yeah.
Actually, you never stop.
Yeah,
you
true.
just keep buying.
Yeah.
Yet, I'm sure if I came to your closet or mine, there's a capsule
Yes.
closet.
Yes.
You know, these are your
Yes.
go-to.
Yes.
This is what works in these occasions. And that's the beauty of engaging with the professional. And
Ooh, I would like to us to conclude on that because being an intentional woman has
Yes.
also much to do with how you would like to be perceived.
Right.
You would like to lead perception about your personal style,
Right.
your personal brand, and you would want to approach your personal style to your personal brand. People think these things can stand apart. These things should work in correlation.
and the challenge also is that people spend the money.
Yeah, true.
Because you'll find that we want to spend money on the wrong things.
Yeah.
And think that certain services are too expensive. But what is the cost that you're losing ultimately?
Yes.
I usually challenge women. Spend money, not just on image, but even on growing your mind. So listening to this podcast, reading the books, going for the courses. And as you go up, there's a 10x principle. The higher you go up, the more expensive they become. But what it is an investment in you as a person.
Yeah, we need to tell our readers that, or our community, the people who are going to watch this. Research says that people who have worked on their image and presence and chose to show up in a certain way, approaching their personal style to their personal brand, lead perception faster and have more conversion rate than someone who has a personal style that is different from their personal brand.
Correct.
Because there is no correlation. The correlation that comes between your personal style and your personal brand, that's what builds authenticity. When people comes to see you are dressing in a manner, let's say you want to bring people to live a minimalistic lifestyle and your personal style itself is not minimalistic, there will be a disconnection.
Correct.
Anytime there is disconnect between your personal style and your personal brand, your conversion rate is going to be low. Why? Because you lack convincing points.
Correct. And also the people that we admire.
Yes, true.
Every one of the people you named and mentioned
Yes.
have people, whether it may not be necessarily image in the full spectrum.
Yes.
They have a makeup artist.
Yes.
They have a wonderful hairstylist.
Yes.
They have a stylist for their clothing.
Yes.
They have a speechwriter and somebody who is like, there's work that
Yes,
goes
there is a
behind
tone that is
scenes
consistent
that-
through clothing, through
Correct.
style, through presence,
Correct.
through presentation skills,
Correct.
and then through your writing. So the
Correct.
way you write.
So there's
Yeah.
that consistency.
Yes.
And that consistency is what
Yes.
people want in terms of success.
Yes.
That's what we now say is successful.
Yes.
Because we'll be like, Oprah has been like this since we can remember.
Yes.
And her style has evolved,
Yes.
but she's gotten more glorious
Yes.
as she's aged.
Yes, true.
It's not by accident.
Yes,
And
it is not a DIY.
It requires
Yes.
work.
Yes.
But the
A whole
results,
tribe.
and not just that, the results
Yeah.
are worth it.
Yeah, true.
The amount of resource you will generate, the
Yeah.
engagements you will have are worth every single penny. And so for me, that's the challenge.
Yes.
And it's a challenge to our leaders.
Yes.
It's a challenge to the women.
Yes.
It's, you know what, start spending and investing in yourself. And I'll say we have our own challenges. We're like, oh, my kids. Actually,
Yes.
we spend on our kids and on our families and on our
more
homes.
than we do in ourselves.
More than we do
Yeah.
on ourselves. And that, in my perspective, is not the correct way to do it. It's having balance. That you say, every year, I have an amount of money that I'm investing in myself. So I will attend a course. I will, if it was stylist this year, it's speech coach the next year.
Yes.
So that then you are growing
Yes.
as a person, and we say then your net worth can reach where in your brain it is.
Yes,
Because a lot
true.
of us have a very high self-worth, but when it comes to the tangible dollars and cents,
Yes.
it doesn't match that.
Yeah, it does not. Yeah, I agree with you on that
Yeah.
point. As Carnage said, that look the part,
Yes.
deliver the part.
Yes.
You need to have the substance part, the
Correct.
content. You have to be substantial
Right.
in your delivery, and then again, do the part.
Right.
It's important to meet our promises. It's part of civility. It's
Yes.
part of decency.
Yes.
When you say, I will do this,
Yes.
do it.
Yes.
Meet your deliverables. It's part of civility. What are the things that we can conclude on that you would wish to see in our society being normalized, being embraced in terms of civility?
First of all, I was going to go back to that point of yours where you
Yes.
said,
Yeah.
deliver the part or
Yes.
do what it is that we've said that we're going to do.
Yes.
And ask you the question, how many times have people met you, known what you do, and said, oh, I'll get in touch with you, and then they don't?
Yes. Many. But I feel like sometimes it's it has been used in communication as an exit point. When someone wants to tell you to exit the conversation, they will tell, yeah, I will get in touch.
I don't think that's what it is. In my perception, I
It's-
think it's more we go home and then we self-sabotage.
There is that, but there is this accepted, like it's a formula people
Right.
use to say, I will look for you. Even if necessarily they don't mean it, or they just didn't know how to end the conversation and make you feel validated in that conversation.
Right.
Because they also don't want to hurt you. They don't, after pitching to them what you do,
Right.
they felt the obligation to make you feel that they need your services. And then because they don't know how to end that conversation, they will say, yeah, I will look for you. It doesn't mean necessarily any committing to the engagement to look for you exactly, but it is a poor etiquette.
I was just about to say that.
Yeah.
But it's actually bad manners.
Yeah, it is. It's poor etiquette.
And
Yeah.
it's one of the things that people need to come to terms with.
Yeah.
Is part of us being authentic
Yes.
and real
Yeah.
is saying what we really mean.
Yeah, true.
So there are other ways to end this.
Yeah, and avoiding giving false hope or
Exactly.
false
right.
promises,
And-
because that's swearing. It's even bad.
It is.
Yeah.
And it's something we ought to learn
Yeah.
is that it's okay to say it was nice to meet you and I wish you all the best
Yeah.
in what you do.
Yes.
As a
Maybe
closing,
we'll meet again. Yeah.
as opposed to trying to.
Yeah, I will look for you. I will.
Right.
I really need this.
But I do think on the flip side, they're the ones who actually really need it. And
Yeah.
they meet you and they really need it.
Yeah.
But when they go home, there's the self-sabotage where they're like, or you send them the quote and they think it's too expensive, or they think it'll take too much time, or they think that they would rather go buy the clothes with that money,
Yeah.
or they think that they'd rather go and continue making the same mistakes and then wonder why they get the same results.
Yeah, true. I agree.
Because you do the same thing over and over again, expecting different results. That's madness.
I agree with you to that point, 100%. There is a person who last year, she came and she met me and she asked me, how much will it cost me to do this? And I told her, depend on what you want. Do you want to do it online? Do you want to do it in person? Because the rates differ
Yes.
from the setting of delivery. He said, I want to do it in person. Then I told her, this is what we need to do. These are the sessions and this is how much. He said, oh, no, that's too much. That's a cost of a handbag. That's a cost. You understand? That's
Yes.
a cost of a handbag.
Yes.
Anyway, because it's my birthday, I feel like I'm weighing. Should I buy a bikini bag? Should I pay your coaching? I say, it's up to
It's
you,
up to
really.
you. It's up to you.
You choose. In the beginning of this year, she said, I think I've bought that bikini bag, but it didn't give me the comfort that I wanted. And she came back to invest now, to negotiate a payment plan, to learn. And I told her, have you reversed that? You would have learned and decide if you ever want to even buy that. Because if you chose to learn, maybe you could find that you don't even need that handbag.
Right.
Because sometimes we end up doing shopping,
Yes.
impulse shopping, especially in clothes, shoes, perfume,
Especially.
as
And
covering
women.
a psychological thing that
Correct.
we have failed to deal with.
Correct.
And once you have invested in knowing what you really need to meet your personal style needs,
Right.
you will specifically shop strategically for that.
Right.
So you will avoid to impulse shop. You will avoid buying things that don't meet your needs.
And every time people see you, they will see how wonderful
you look.
which is the validation.
With the validation that most of us
women
need.
are looking for. or
Exactly,
need.
exactly.
And even if they don't give you those compliments, you still know deep down inside how wonderful you are.
Yeah, wonderful.
Because once you go through the experience of the services,
Yes.
then for sure your life is wonderful.
Yes.
And so for me, I think that we must encourage one another
Yes.
and women to seek professional services.
Yes.
We must encourage women to invest in themselves.
Yes.
And not be
Not feeling horrible and guilty about it.
and not feel guilty about
Yeah.
it, but also we must begin to help one another understand the value of the services that people offer, the service industry.
Yeah, true.
Because we enjoy, and even for us, sometimes I go through that emotion of maybe a different service
Yeah.
that someone is offering, and I'll go through the questions of, is it worth it? How, but because I'm in the service space, I am more inclined to pay for other people's services than I am not to. And so it's helping people shift the perception to see that when you make that investment, it transforms your life.
We shift our perspective not necessarily on the monetary value to
Correct.
the impact value.
Correct.
Okay.
And also the transformation value.
Yes,
That-
the impact, the outcome.
Once you learn the principles, you never have to come back to that class
It's a
again.
lifetime, yeah.
It's a lifetime.
Yes.
It's a skill. Soft skills are skills that are hard to learn.
Yeah,
but
true.
when you learn them, they're there forever.
Timeless, yeah.
Unlike hard skills where you still have to go for the masters and you still have to go for the and you still have to go for the other one. They're timeless.
Yes.
Learning how to treat people well, learning how to engage with people, those are timeless skills.
Yes, true.
And so the value of that is what you should, and I usually tell people, then calculate how much more life do you have.
Yeah,
And you
true.
can divide that across and see what the return on investment is going to be.
I love that. Thank you so much, Nthenya. Thank you for sharing your knowledge, your mileage in image consultancy and civility in general. I would like to give you this platform and this opportunity as well to tell our audience where to find you, what services you offer, what program do you have right now that is on running or the upcoming one, so that this doesn't necessarily serve just as a conversation, but also a way of reaching out to you. Where do we find you when we need those services?
Awesome. Thank you. First of all, thank you for having me. I think this is a much needed conversation.
Yes.
And I'm hoping this
Oh,
is
yes.
just the start
Yes,
of
true.
us getting together
Yes.
and
There are so many things we
empowering
didn't
women
speak, yeah.
to be the better version of themselves. And so you can find me on all social media platforms. I have a website, nthenya.com.
Yes.
And all my social platforms are at Nthenya Macharia. I also run, we call them executive masterclasses
Yes.
for executive presence.
Yes.
That help women, especially who are in the C-suite, high net worth women,
Yes.
to engage with their next level
Yes.
and their new level opportunities. So I do that, and I also have another one called Inner Circle, which is come get close to me. Let's take off our masks, our wigs, and talk about the real hard stuff.
Yes,
and
true.
help each other navigate the spaces that we sit on, the different boardrooms,
Yes.
the different businesses that we run and things that we do.
Yes.
So those are the two main ones. And then I I am also looking for women who are passionate about young people.
Yes.
Because I do run mentorship programs and I'm interested in people coming on as mentors.
Yes.
And supporting our young girls grow and become better at who they are. And then they can take over some of the things that we were not able to do. That they can stand on our shoulders and become everything that they were designed to be.
Yes.
So, yeah.
Thank you so much for listening. And I hope this is a way of also showing you that it's okay to collaborate, ladies. We can only grow when we collaborate. Myself and Nthenya, we do almost the same thing. Yes. I'm not afraid to share her contact. I'm not afraid to share what she does because we do the same by fear. Oh, she's going to take on my client. Oh, she's going. No, there is a space for everyone. Yes. It is okay to collaborate. Yes. It is okay to introduce the other person. It is okay to open. There is always a room for everybody. This is also a way of showing you that start collaborating. Start calling those people that you are in the same industry. Be intentional in building relationships that are going to help you grow. Don't own the 100% of nothing. Yeah. Collaborate.
That's my favorite statement.
Yes.
And especially as women.
Yes.
We need each other. We are an amazing tribe. And if we come
together. She might have a client and she's not available. She say,
correct.
I know Alice will deliver to the same exact deliverables and quality.
Yes.
Let me give her. And we might have the same.
Yes.
We might collaborate. We might put things together. This is the time for us women to stop fighting and stop being petty, stop poking each other and hold each other's hand intentionally and grow. I hope this serves you as an inspiration and a message of hope. Looking forward to have you again on our next episode. It is your host, Coach Alice. Thank you.